A change of scene, win the toss and bat first. These were the things that India must have been hoping for ahead of the third ODI versus Australia in Canberra. Yet things quite haven't turned out the way the Indian team would have liked. That said, a good onslaught by Ravindra Jadeja and Hardik Pandya towards the end. A 100-plus run partnership between the two has taken India to a respectable total of 302 for 5. We've got Hardik Pandya as the top scorer with 92, and then followed by Virat Kohli at 63 and 66 not out for Ravindra Jadeja. You're watching ESPN Cricket for Match Day. I'm Nikhil Nas, joined by Tom Moody and Deep Das Gupta. Deep, I'll kickstart the discussion with you. For long, we've looked at Hardik Pandya as this flamboyant batsman who will come and hit the ball or tonk the ball. But the last 3 ODIs have shown us that he can really build his inning, construct the inning as well.
Absolutely. I think he's done that 2 out of the 3 games that he's played here. He's come in situations where he needed to build an innings, and today was a phenomenal innings again. The way he timed his innings, paced his innings was there when the wickets fell quickly, handled the spinners really well, and then timed it to perfection the whole innings. And credit to him and also to Jadeja. I think that partnership was huge difference.
Tom, I don't know about you, but there were a lot of experts who were skeptical about playing Hardik Pandya as a pure batsman. But clearly the numbers here back him. India could also probably look at him, playing as a pure batsman going forward, even in the longest format, you'd reckon.
I wouldn't get too far ahead of yourself with with Test cricket, but certainly in T20 cricket and 50-over cricket, I think he's proved a lot of people wrong. I think what we've seen even before this 3-match series, his heroics in IPL, that he's clearly shown that he's more than capable batsman to hold down that number 6 position in any one-day side. And he's proved that not only has he got the power game and the game that really excites us all when he's up and running with his ability to hit sixes, but he's also got the cricket smarts. He's got the ability to understand the game, read the game, work out what the team requires at any certain point. And this particular innings was a perfect example of that. He managed to navigate a tricky position where India could have found themselves, 50 runs short of where they should have been, but he navigated that very cleverly and then, put on a bit of a display to finish off to help the team get to 300 plus.
Deep, you're talking about Hardik really evolving as a batsman. The same could be said about Ravindra Jadeja. There was a time in his career, a short while ago, where we saw him, when he really needed to tonk the ball, get the run rate going. He failed to do that on a few occasions. He's completely changed in the last 2 years as far as that is concerned.
Absolutely. 2017 West Indies series, I think that's the series that's kind of changed him as a batsman. I think he always had the ability. I mean, nobody scores triple hundreds in domestic cricket if you don't have the ability. It's just that he's thinking like a batsman now. His shot selection has got much better. The talent, as I mentioned, was always there, but the shot selection and his mindset, I think last few years, like I mentioned, 2017 West Indies series, post that, I think he started thinking like a batsman, and that's where the difference is. And again, I've mentioned this before. We were thinking of, it was Tom there, myself and Tom, we were talking about an out-of-box solution for getting a 6th bowler in, and that's where I mentioned Jadeja may be an option to bat at number 4, because I think he's done that in the last 2-3 years. The way he's batted, I think he can be a top order batsman as well.
A great onslaught there, Tom, from both Jadeja and Hardik Pandya. Some might say it could have come a bit earlier, but then it just goes on to show with India, when you've got such a long tail, these two had no option but to bide their time and then really go hell for leather towards the last 5 to 6 overs.
Yeah, look, I thought it was a brilliant partnership. When you find yourself exposed 5 down at the stage they were, for this partnership to come together and have the impact it had was absolutely vital, for India's chance to get over 300. And I think 300 is an absolute, minimum score you need at that venue. It looks a very good wicket. It also... it's a quick outfield and the boundaries are quite accessible to hit sixes. So I think what we have learnt over the last 10 overs is that, the India did sort of make a bit of a meal of the first half of their innings, but they've caught up and equalised that with some excellent batting at the back end.
Deep, as Tom mentions here, 302 is the minimum that you'd be looking at. how do you reckon the Indian dressing room must be feeling at the moment? Happy about the fact that at least they've gone past 300 from the start they had, or not quite really confident going ahead? Because we know what the average score in the last 5 ODI has been 370 odd batting first.
I think the mood would be measured. Obviously, they would be happy because they were at one point in time, as Tom mentioned, they might be looking at 250, 260, but now they're at 300, 300 plus 302. So I think they'd be happy about that. But they'd also be very, very wary that this is a pass score. This is not above pass score. So they really have to bowl well. But they have a scoreboard. They have a competing scoreboard. They have something on the board which will help the bowlers to bowl a little more freely. But again, this is a pass score. Let's not take, think it's anything more than that.
Okay, would Tom India then be looking at the positives right now? One positive, at least now, defending that total would be Australia are a batsman less. Yes, you could envy the all-rounders that they have in their lineup, but you'd have to say in terms of pure batsmen, they've got what, 3 odd and rest all-rounders.
Yeah, look, again, one thing that they can look at is the fact that, there's a couple of new faces, in that batting lineup. But they'll also look at the fact that Smith is lining up number 300 and he's still sitting there and coming in at number 3. And Marnus Labuschagne, who has shown over the past 12 months what he's capable of doing, and putting him at the top of the order, that's a hurdle they have to get through. So, look, I think they'll be measured with how they feel about things at this halfway mark. They also be fully aware that their bowling lineup has changed dramatically as well from the last game to this game. So they'll be also, a little bit unsure how that's going to play out for them. I know the bowlers themselves will be looking forward to their chance to prove to the selectors that, that maybe they should have been considered in the first game and not just the third game. But I sort of see this pretty much as a 50-50 split at this stage. India have done well to get back into the contest, but I think it's a modest score. I don't think it's anything out of the box. I think it's a modest score, but with Australia, particularly their top order showing the form they have so far in this tournament, this series, I should call it, India will be desperate to take early wickets with that new ball.
The one other big difference, Deep, one can really notice between Sydney and Canberra, this pitch is offering a bit of bounce. Now, I understand that the Australian batsmen might just enjoy that extra bounce and that extra pace, but when it comes to the Indian spinner, they too will enjoy that extra bounce. Till now, they've been blunt in their bowling.
That's right. I think what they also need to do is take a leaf out of the width and length. More often than not, he was hitting the stumps. Keeping it very, very simple. Look at Josh Hazlewood. Yes, that extra bounce again might help the Indian bowlers, but there is also a tendency to get carried away, especially as a fast bowler with that extra bounce. You just got to make sure you hit the right areas then.
Let's talk about what might have been for the Indian team. Deep, I'm coming back to you, and let's talk about that Virat Kohli wicket. He looked rather comfortable, as he did in a couple of other innings that he's played. But then against that run of play, the Australian team weren't very confident themselves. They've got him against the run of play. They get him out. Had he continued, which he was looking good too, it could have very easily have been a 340, 350 sort of a total.
Could have been. Listen, it could have been, but end of the day, that was a fantastic ball. And end of the day, he did not. He got out, and that's what matters. I mean, that's what that's how the cookie crumbled. So you can't really think about what could have happened or would have happened, but that was a brilliant ball. Again, Josh Hazlewood, phenomenal. I was looking at his pitch map. The line there was so good. That off stump, just outside off stump line. Yes, he varied the length, but the line was phenomenal, and that's what it is all about. I mean, that's how Australian bowlers been so good in at least the first 40 overs, because they've been very, very disciplined in their line and length, and let the batsman, don't give anything to the batsman, and let the batsman do what they have to.
Slight change in length there, because we're talking about Hazlewood. Tom, coming to you, just looking at his record, what he picks Virat Kohli's wicket every 13 odd balls that he bowls. I reckon there won't be any other bowler in international cricket who's got such a good record against Virat Kohli. 3 dismissals, all 3 short pitch balls against Virat Kohli. Do you think he in a way found some sort of an Achilles heels there?
Look, no, I don't think so. I think what's happened is that Hazlewood that's his natural length. He bowls that length that sort of bowls probably goes about 6 to 12 inches over the top of off stump. Now, that's a very difficult length for anyone to manage in one-day cricket if they're looking to score freely. And what he doesn't do is provide any width at all. So you can take away the cut shot, you can take away the square drives, you can take away the genuine half volleys. You're not getting it off Josh Hazlewood. So what's happened with Virat Kohli is he's tried to, over the last 3 dismissals, what he's tried to do is create something from that length. The first dismissal in the match in Sydney, he came down the wicket to try to get Hazlewood off that length, and he played a pull shot on the move. That was his demise. The second game, he stayed back in his crease and tried to pull it off that length and didn't get the timing. It was a brilliant catch at mid-wicket by Moses Henriques. And today, the same length, just a fraction wider of off stump, but certainly not wide enough to cut. But that hard length with that little bit of extra bounce, Kohli's tried to work that a little bit leg side. But again, the ball just bouncing, holding off that line and catching the edge. So it's a simple length, it's a simple line, but it's the consistency and the discipline that Josh Hazlewood has had to Kohli and others that has proved to be his success.
Deep, what do you reckon? Interesting point there. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Just to add to that, also the fact that Josh Hazlewood gets extra bounce and he bowls a hard ball that skids through. So he hurries the batsman. The first couple of dismissals for Virat, if you see, kind of hurried him, hit him on, near the splice, near the sticker of the bat. So, he knows his strength and he just bowls there, as Tom mentioned, just discipline, lines and length. Don't give anything to the batsman. Let the batsman take chances.
I know, Tom, that you were one of the advocates who wanted Ash to again in that playing 11, and Aga's done rather well. In fact, if you take a look at the Australian spinners in the middle overs, very, very effective against the Indian batting lineup. This is what you had expected, Tom, when we were talking about bringing that spinner in?
Yeah, look, I've sort of seen Ashton Agar perform over the last couple of years for Australia in ODI cricket, and he's done very well every single time. He's a little bit taller than the average spinner, so he does get, a little bit of bounce. But what he does do is bowl a very straight line and constantly challenges the batsman to, play straight down the ground. And as soon as you try to play across the line, like he picked up his 2 wickets with a sweep shot, you're asking for trouble. One thing that India will look back on this match, if they lose it, or even if they don't lose it, one area they will look at is allowing Australian spinners to bowl 20 overs. That's just Zampa, not counting Maxwell. That's Zampa and Ashton Agar, 20 overs, allowing them to bowl those overs for 89 runs only for the loss of 3 wickets. And that's an area that normally India would thrive and relish the opportunity to face spin and pick them off at least a run a ball.
Deep, your thoughts on that? And not just scoring 89, as Tom talks about, also losing some crucial wickets against the spinners.
Absolutely, and that's his strength. I mean, he bowls wicket to wicket, and as a batsman, you've got to take a chance when you're playing horizontal bat shots and all these surfaces, and he varies his pace really well. He's very smart with his variations in terms of pace, and also the longish straight boundaries. I think it's about 79 meter to 80 meter long boundaries. That also kind of helps him to bowl a little fuller, not worried about batsmen hitting him down the ground. So I think was very smart bowling, and that's what he does. I mean, at times as bowlers, and especially with T20 cricket being played so much, maybe at times you overcomplicate as players. It can be as simple as just hitting the stumps, and you increase your chances of picking wickets, and that's what Ashton Agar did today, and that's what even Zampa did today.
The other thing, Deep, what Australia showed today is a full range of their bowlers. 7 bowling options. Henrique just bowls that 1 over. I don't think we can reinstate that thing that we keep talking about of having those bowling options with you, which Australia is using brilliantly. Deep,
that's the advantage that they have. I mean, you can't help it that they have it and they're using it, and there's no reason why Aaron Finch wouldn't use it. That makes things a little more difficult for the batsman, because obviously the fact that you can't really plan when there are 5 bowlers or 6 bowlers, at least you can plan to go after a certain bowler. But with 7 options there, it makes life a little more difficult for the bowlers, and all of them are very different. If you look at those 7 bowlers, they have a lot of variations there in those 7 bowlers as well. So that definitely the luxury that Australian team has.
Since the Indian bowling unit is going to be out bowling very, very shortly, Tom, let's talk about Hardik Pandya, the bowler. What would be your approach? Were you captain? I mean, wait and watch, see how the team is progressing. If you really need him, then bring him, because what we saw of him in the last game wasn't really 100% fit to be bowling.
Yeah, look, I don't think it'll be down to the captain. I think it's down to the instruction of the medical staff to how much they want him to bowl as part of his long-term rehabilitation. I believe, and I'm guessing this is the case, that he is still part of that cycle of rehabilitation. So a little bit like Cameron Green, who's coming back from stress fractures. He's had double stress fractures himself. He's limited to the number of overs he can bowl per game. So they're managing his rehabilitation. Hardik Pandya will be probably the same. So at best, he'll bowl 5 overs, and I'd imagine those 5 overs will be welcome because, as he showed in that second game in Sydney, he's more than capable bowler. He's an important part of the makeup of the bowling attack because he just gives the captain flexibility. His change of pace was also very clever in that game in Sydney, where he got the ball into the wicket with his cutters. So I'd imagine, put it this way, I'd be very, very surprised if he bowls more than 5 or 6 overs as part of his comeback as a fully fit all-rounder.
Right. Finally, Deep, T. Natarajan's going to be making his debut. How would you like him to approach this game? You've seen plenty of him during the IPL, but this is a different format.
Yeah, this is a different format. It'll be interesting how he actually manages, bowling 10 overs and how the captain manages him. But you know what? I think he's achieved a lot. If you look at where he's coming from and the journey that he's had, I think, and he's not young. He's 29, so I think he's seen a lot. I think he should enjoy this. The whole journey where he's now at this point in time. I think it's a fairy tale story. And if I'm there in that dressing room, I'll tell him that, you know what, just go out there, enjoy yourself, just follow the basics. And he's been in good form, so he knows what he can do. He can execute his skill set and just back himself.
All right, gentlemen, we'll leave it at that. Deep Das Gupta and Tom Moody, thanks so much for joining us. If you're a believer in stat, well, let me tell you one stat for sure going ahead is that most of the times we've seen in the last 7 odd ODIs played at this ground, the team that has batted first has ended up winning. Does that also now move over to the Indian team? We'll wait and find out. You're watching ESPN Cricket for Match Day.